Please welcome our heroic sponsor, Aqueducts Consulting and superhero, Joe Christensen. Today, he will be presenting Conduit BI, notes from the field on the new cloud pattern for F&O reports.
We're live. This is Joe Christensen with Aqueducts Consulting. We're doing a session on D365 F&O reporting. This will be a brisk pace. We're going to do about 10 to 15 minutes here, and then we're going to turn it over to question and answer. The purpose of this session is just to surface all the things we need to talk about for F&O reporting, because this area has changed. Microsoft has changed the game here a few times over to make getting data out of F&O more reliable, quicker, solving some issues with the volume of data that comes over, et cetera. But I want to make this easy for you. I want to make this whole reporting process way easy. You have options. So I want to show you these options. Strap in here, get buckled up, grab some coffee, stay here. I know that you have an option to pull off of this format because it is virtual, but stay with me and let's cover reporting. You have options. Let's check it out. All right. Diving in. I want this to be interactive. I want you to feel like we're right here in a session talking to one another. So just to kick it off, this is Conduit BI. This is our own software that I've written, my team's written. It's reporting for D365 for F&O. This is 14 years of me in the field. So everything that you're seeing here these are the most common requests I've had for F&O data and reporting for that long. These are ready to go blueprints. And today is November 13th. DCon virtual. Okay, target and offer. This is what I would like to accomplish in the time that we're here. Number one, build your BI team as an expert system. When we walk away from this, if we don't get this point about expert system, these other 2 points aren't going to be helpful. I say because no one does, and it is very good. No one builds it this way. And here's the litmus test for whether or not we have. If you lose your key person, or if the tech changes or breaks or is inadequate, then it's like the system collapses. Most of the time I'm asked to come in and help people, it's because somebody's left or the tech has changed. I want you out of this session to get 4 months of BI reporting progress in 4 weeks. I want you to see how that would happen. I'm going to show that on screen. Again, brisk, but it goes to Q&A. I just want to bring up the categories, and then we're going to cover all of this in a live Q&A. Okay, pricing. $6,000 to $36,000. $6,000 for basic tech setup, $36,000 for everything. Like a whole enablement package, you have options. You can see, by the end of this session, you can see your options for doing so, for moving forward with this solution. Okay, let's start at the end of this whole endeavor. I want you to be able to put requirements in to this system and get reports out. If we don't focus on this way, then our attention span will go to the tools and the smart people doing the work, and we're going to lose sight of why we do this. It's so that you have an engine. The engine is this thing in the middle that goes and processes reports. It's that simple. Don't lose sight of this fact. This is if this technology that we're talking about is the best in the whole world, it's flawlessly executed over the next X amount of weeks. You get all of this in, it works, hooray, you're live, and then your key person leaves, or Microsoft changes the game on the tech. What is the system that goes and makes sure that you get reports? That's what we're covering today. We can't lose sight of that. That's the rest of my work in the market is focused right there. It's a concept called the report factory. Stay tuned. That's coming soon. Stay tuned. All right, let's talk about pricing. I want you to walk away from this demo knowing exactly what this costs you, what you can expect, and what your options are. You have options. I'm going to hide the caption for a second so you can see the pricing. $36,000 for everything that you see below, just to level set. If you bought everything from me, that's the price. What does that include? For $10,000, we're going to set up the tech and we're going to walk you through workshops. You can choose one or either one of those or both. You don't have to choose both of them. I highly recommend for adoption that you do workshops because we really are patient with your team. We set over many workshops. We're talking 5 to 6, maybe more, get everybody adopted on the new pattern. $6,000, this is Synapse Link for F&O setup. Right now, we are recommending, right now, this moment, I know this might be dated at any time, but right now what we are recommending is very stable over the past 2 years is because we went from export to data lake to this. Synapse Link for F&O setup. You can use a Parquet format for that, or you can go to CSV files. You have options. That's $6,000 just to set up the tech and show you how it works and how we would architect. You go deeper on the workshops there, but the 6K is the setup, 4K for the workshops for massive adoption, maximum adoption. They're recorded sessions. Your team can survive your best people leaving. Data models, $8,000 for the finance data model and sample reports, $18,000 for supply chain and sample reports. I'm going to show you those right now. If you want to, after we get the basics in, then you can go to custom reporting, and my rates are from $150 to $200 an hour. And that depends on the amount of time that we commit to. 3 months, 4 months and out, we're looking at probably $150 an hour. If you're 6 weeks, that's all that you need for custom reporting. It's closer to $200 an hour. Okay? And anything in between. So let's jump QR code. If you are watching this on your computer, you can hit that. That's going to go right to a page where you can sign up with us. This session here that we're talking about is a product session. It's not like an educational session. Okay, so hit the QR code and you can fill out your information and move forward with us. If you want to do that now, you can go ahead and click that, and so that at least you can see the page. That's going to take you to ConduitBI.com. Let's go. We're about halfway in here. I wanted this to go right to Q&A, so we'll be fast. Start at the end. So let's talk about the demo. Let's talk about Power BI reports. So I'm going to flip over here to just a web browser, show you guys the options. Let's talk about the reports. So coming in here with the AQC, this Aqueducts Consulting report templates for Conduit BI, these are all the things that I've commonly been asked for over the years. So each one of these, actually, lots of these have multiple tabs. So any of these that you're looking at, you're really covering things in GLAPAR, in the finance side of the house, and then supply chain, including sales purchase and inventory, but including project and production manufacturing. I started as a manufacturing consultant along with a data consultant. Same. Just I've worked with the front-end functional and the back-end technical the whole time I've been in the market. These are common reports we've used. If you go to AP reporting, for example, you're going to get several tabs here on covering just the most common use cases that we've seen for AP. So AP aging, AP vendor balance, vendor invoice transactions over here on tabs here. All right, so these are the most common things that we've seen in the market. Where this is valuable for your team because you can see the fields that everybody usually uses. You don't have to start from scratch. And if I hit edit here, off here to the right, usually you would get base tables from Dynamics. I don't want to do base tables. I want to make sure this is financially modeled, which means that I've collected all the tables that you're going to need to see. The names of these, I've made them very sort of grisly system level names, but dimension items, dimension location, dimension main account, etc. for AP. Main account here would be just for the people who catch that on the finance side, that would be like expense account related to the AP activity or trade AP account, whatever. And then you get vendors and a worker assigned if there's a purchase that has to do with somebody doing the purchase order, and then the rest of the tables. So this is a very common footprint for Dynamics. I've been working with this for a long time. I just want to assure you that these data models are intact for every single one of these. I've deeply thought about these, and these data models actually host people's lives and reporting in 28 plus installs in just the last 2 years alone. And most of these queries actually have a history back to 14 years. All right, so that's AP reporting. Pulling it back one here, the workspace, AQC report templates. We have the same thing for AR. 13-week cash outlook so that you can blend not just this Power BI world, but blend it with Excel, where you can do a cash outlook style report. All right. So we also have it for inventory aging, burn rate, like if you're consuming things in a manufacturing sense or just purchase in and sales out, you got a burn rate on inventory, P&L by financial dimensions. Any of these, I just want to jump in. Inventory aging this is a dynamic date, so I think it's all going to cluster around 120 plus days. But you can see there the buckets, the aging buckets, and this is a basic visual for what you want to see for inventory aging. And then that's by size, for instance, if you wanted to pull in size for the item, large, medium, small, whatever, like any of these product dimensions, and then any of these filters already put in there. So, and the data model, tripping over my own words. All right, that's inventory aging. So again, it's common fields. What are the tables? I want to pull 4 months forward into 4 weeks so that your team can rapidly adopt. P&L by financial dimensions. There's also an Excel cube version of this. If you are like me, I've got people pinging me on Teams at the worst possible moment. P&L by main account. See, we all do BI like in flight with everything else going, right? I want to pull this forward so you don't have to, while you're dealing with everything else, you don't have to deal with the grisly details at the bottom. And also you can expand this solution to your heart's content. We have customized this to the hilt. All right, P&L by main account and category, P&L by financial DIMS. This is all an area that can be customized. And again, data model over here. General ledger entries, main account or GL, like the equivalent like a ledger trans from the old AX world, and then main accounts and the rest of it, date, department, etc. All right, I want to speak, going back to the demo here, real assets in data models. I just want to do a quick flash here of a picture. That's this. And the data model is how everything relates. How many fields are in it? How do they relate? We're using this thing called, it's a Kimball data methodology in BI. It's very stable. Star schema, it is what is recommended by Microsoft. Use a star schema to do fact tables, which are like what's happened in your world operationally, connected to dimensions. Very simple. It's very straightforward, and it applies to each module. So this works here. That's an asset for the company. Again, expert system. What system could you put in that doesn't blow up when your smart people leave or your tech fails? You can take this entity relationship diagram, these data models, and then carry them forward into a new solution in the future. A head start on tables. We got 14 years of queries. I just want to say, don't do these queries from scratch. 4 months pulled into 4 weeks. It's just make this happen. Take our data models and take all these queries, all the times I've hit my knee against something or twisted my ankle. This is where you can benefit from my mistakes here. And these are hardened queries. Again, 28 plus installs. All right, components overview, how it's built. I wanted to jump into this really quickly. How it's built. This is the Synapse Link new way. I wanted to show you this scribble scrabble thing they had on the old way. You're used to seeing this infrastructure or architecture look like this. It has changed. So you had BYOD to start, and you had to this was actually a decently doable thing, but export to data lake really improved this picture. And this was about a couple to 3 years ago that we saw this come in, 3 to 4 years ago maybe, in earnest. It was a great pattern. Data lake was good while it lasted. It had some issues with it. We had to deal with those issues, but export to data lake to CSV to SQL serverless, and then some form of data warehouse or to Power BI. And I saw a lot of people architect SQL serverless directly to Power BI. And some adventurous people architected from Power BI all the way back here to data lake CSV. So those patterns were out there. They've been out there. Data lake went away, and what you're dealing with now is what they're trying to go to is Fabric Link. I want to skip this for a second because I want to show you a pattern that is, in my opinion and in my experience, a little bit more prominent and a little bit more stable, especially for people who need data in increments less than 60 minutes. Fabric is viable if you're okay waiting 60 minutes for the data to come out of F&O. but this is 5 to 15 minutes, 15 minutes-ish if you're on Parquet. I've seen that 15 go down to 5, but you can't rely on it. And then you can also do Synapse Link out to CSV files. Okay, so you have options out here. And you can blend this out with customer engagement, Power Apps, as well as with F&O data sources. And once you get it to Parquet, you have lots of options before it goes to Power BI. And the patterns that I'm using a lot are SQL Server lists with some Spark behind it here. Data warehouse is popular. Azure SQL Database, I don't see as much. I see a lot of dedicated SQL, dedicated pool. And then Azure Data Factory or built-in pipelines, okay? So you've got some architecture choices out here. I want to cover this in the Q&A. This data gets stuck in this pattern, and the people who did export to Data Lake over to this pattern were mad. They were mad. They are still mad. So this is a transition, okay? So we're going to talk about this in the Q&A, and we're going to talk about Fabric Link. And the experience over here, remember 60-minute wait out here. You can't rely on it any faster. It might come faster, but you can't rely on it. And there are lots of options here to talk about in the Q&A. I do have benchmarking against these things in every form of this because I niche focus on BI and reporting. I have benchmarking on a lot of this that I'd like to share. Okay, so that's fast. Refresh frequency in Fabric. I do have a lot to back that up. If you search for this, you get a lot of response here on refresh frequency and people saying 60 minutes. Jumping back here to workshops, we take your teams through the workshops. I'd love to cover that in the Q&A, but suffice to say, right here on extra files, what we're covering in the workshops is the principle. I don't know why this is so big. I just want to show you, I want 3 to 4 months of an effort. If you were to engage my team to help set all of this up and do custom reports to get you launched for a 4-month block of time, you saw the pricing for that earlier. The whole purpose for this is to get this to the new BI team or the existing BI team that's trained on the new pattern. And when we do this, we want to be super conscious about and very deliberate in these workshops, this adoption and these patterns to make sure that you're doing an expert system. So we're going to cover this in the Q&A. I can bring this slide back up. Again, I'm Joe Christensen with Aqueducts Consulting. You're looking at Conduit BI. Aqueductsconsulting.com is my website. ConduitBI.com is the product that we have written, just to clarify that. And we're going to cover any of these concepts in the Q&A. Back here to the full screen version of this, swap this out. If you have any questions, let me know. Scan the QR code here. And otherwise, I hope you have a great day here on the whole November 13th DynamicsCon virtual with great presenters. And again, stick around for the Q&A. I'll see you out there.